Hey, Steven, how are you tonight? Can you hear me okay? You still out there, my man? I'm gonna go ahead and pull my phone up to see if this is streaming. Make sure the music's working and everything. Hey, Enrique. So, do you hear me okay out there? I want to make sure everything's working fine. Hey, Slam Driver, I guess. Just checking to see if everything's working okay.
Congratulations, it's a bargain. Ollie's is opening the doors Wednesday, June 12th at
Turn that off for a sec. Okay, so the sound's okay. You get a little background music. Hey, Boston. This is Shamrock Banks Observatory. It's a small observatory in my backyard. It's a 2.2 meter dome, a next dome, and it's a Minor Planet Center official observatory. And what I do primarily is I watch comets and I watch asteroids and calculate their orbits and report my findings into the observatory. Let me just check and see if this music's working. I want to make sure everything's working fine. Yep, it is, and sounds like the music's a good level too. All right, so we've got a comet here. This is, you guys see my cursor here okay? This little streak that you're seeing right here, this is Comet C2021 S3. And it's currently up in our skies. The reason that it's streaked a little bit is we're live stacking these images. And what I'll do is I'll bring it up just a little bit. But we're live stacking the images. So what's happening is I'm taking 2-minute images and I'm stacking them on top of each other, as you can see down here. And it looks like we've got about 12 of these images going. And as a result, that comet's been moving for 12 minutes. Now you see the stars are small and round, and the focus is pretty good. We've got 200% magnification here, so they're a little fuzzier than I'd like, a little bit of chromatic aberrancy there. But you see the comet's actually moving. And the way that you can tell this is a comet... Oh, hey, Casual. Yeah, I've been hanging out over on TikTok. I actually went back to school. I started the university. Hey, Judy. I started the university again about 4 weeks ago, right at the end of May. Shoot, I guess it hasn't even been, or right at the beginning of May, I guess. And I'm taking a full load of classes right now, and it's kind of kept me busy. I took my first college level test in 32 years the other day, and that was a lot of fun. I did have my butt handed to me. Dropped my grade in the course, a full grade, but I've got plenty of time to make it up. Yep, Australia is just a small town in Utah, and they have linguists there that developed a very unique accent for them. And, you know, they're all on the NASA payroll, and they're there to hide the true shape of the Earth. So you see the stars are looking really nice. I've changed out the telescopes for those of you that are you know, regular followers of my live broadcasts over on TikTok, where I broadcast under Bob the Science Guy. I started that channel probably in January, and I've got 18,400 followers over there now. But I've spent some time over there, but like I said, I've been pretty busy. Currently, I'm taking a communications course. It's Social Influencing and Persuasion. It's designed to help me become a better YouTube creator and a nicer person and attract people to the channels. And you know, I'm learning a lot through that. I've become a much more mellow individual. I'm taking pre-calculus because my algebra skills were a little weaker than I'd like them to be after, you know, not taking any math. Hey, Chile. Not taking any math since Carter was president. Well, actually, Reagan. I do have credit for Calculus 1 and 2 from 1981 and or so, but I've forgotten most of it. So I'm auditing Calculus 1, and I start Introduction to Statistics on the 17th. So that's my summer. And yep, now this is my observatory that we're looking at right now. And like I said, for those of you that follow me over on TikTok, normally what I run is a RASA 11, which is a astrograph, a Roe Ackerman Smith astrograph. It's a very good telescope, f2.2, and I use it primarily to track comets and such. But I decided today to go ahead and take that telescope out of the observatory. It's fun to try and unhook it for a while. You know, there's a lot of cables and stuff that go into it. And I took that in, and I decided I was going to do some maintenance on it, clean the cobwebs out of it, you know, clean the corrector plate and all that stuff. You know, just usual stuff that you have to do. It's quite an effort to survey that into the observatory. You've got to get it oriented right. You've got to get it all polar aligned. But more importantly, on a RASA, you have to have the sensor tilt on the camera exact to within about 7 microns. So it's kind of a big deal to move that thing around. So I went ahead and took it out today, and I replaced it with the 8-inch Ritchie-Chrétien, which is one of my favorite telescopes. It's got about a focal length, it's got about a 1620 millimeter focal length, and it really does a nice job on galaxies. And to it, I hooked up a one-shot color camera. It's a ZWO 6200 MC camera. Australia's CGI, Enrique. Chile's a real place. However, it's just off the coast of Texas. You know, because, you know, everything is north of the equator. I actually have access to telescopes in Chile, in the high desert up there. I have a service called iTelescope that gives me access to up to 61 centimeter telescopes, you know, more than half a meter. And what you do, you know, a lot of people think that observatories, you know, they're a big old dome with a telescope in it, and there's a little house next to it where the astronomer lives, and then every night he just, you know, grabs his coffee and heads on out to the observatory and observes stuff. That's not the way observatories really work. The staff at the observatory are not astronomers. They are technicians and engineers. Their one job in life is to make sure that when an astronomer at Caltech or at Notre Dame or, you know, at the University of Tasmania says, look, I want 70 images with a duration of 95 seconds of this exact coordinate, and I want you to sidereal track it, and I want it in hydrogen alpha, oxygen, or I want it in hydrogen, sulfur, and oxygen, and you know, and I want them run one after the other. Okay, and that's his order. He rents time on the telescope to do that. That's part of his project. And tonight is his night, and you need to make sure that they need to make sure that the telescope's working, and presents those images in his email tomorrow morning. And then he'll spend 6 months going over the data that he got. Meanwhile, he'll be designing other observations and putting in orders for them. And he may use the same telescope all the time, or he may use different telescopes all over the world. You know, we could, you know, there may be a telescope in Chile that we want to get that has a particular type of a camera on it, and it's in a good position to see a comet or a supernova in the Magellanic Cloud, and that's what he wants to see because that's what he's studying. And he will go ahead and put that order in, and the next week he'll put an order into the telescope the big telescopes in Hawaii. And he'll look at something else. And, and then they spend a couple of weeks or months looking at the data. Yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it? But here's the comet. Now, the image that I'm taking is actually pretty large. This is a wide field camera. It's got a sensor on it that's about the size of a business card. And as a result, even with the rather high magnification that I have on this, I'm getting a lot of stuff in here. So here's full size on the camera, and you can see the comet right there. And we can also move it up and magnify it a little bit. And you see the comet's definitely moving, which is pretty cool. The way you know that it's a comet is, these are obviously stars. They're small, they're round, they're always in the same position. They don't move from frame to frame. The comet does move. That's why it's streaking like this. And if you look around it very closely, you'll see this cloud. Comets were originally thought to be hairy stars. But this cloud, this smudge that you see around it is the comet's tail. Now, the reason it kind of looks like it's all the way around it rather than a big long comet trail like the one in the thumbnail is this comet right now is heading away from us. Ideally, when you see a comet with that haze all the way around it, you want to see it getting smaller, not larger. And this one is getting smaller because it's pretty much heading directly away from us. If it was getting larger, it'd be heading pretty much directly toward us. And that is, concerning. But it's kind of, this is the type of stuff that I do. So I'll be getting images here. Let's see how many I have so far. Thinking that says 14 or 16. In any event, it's somewhere in the teens. I generally like to get around 40 images, and then those are all being saved. And then what I will do is I will go ahead and run them through the analysis software. We'll calculate the orbit of the comet, compare it to its reported orbit, and make any little tweaks or things that need to be done to its orbital elements so that we can kind of keep an eye on it. Okay, so it says 16. Yeah, I sat on my glasses the other day and broke them, so I've got to go down and get some new glasses. I have boomer eyes and I can't read the fine print down there. But it's kind of cool seeing an object in the sky actually move like that. I mean, in real time. These are live images. So you see down here in the corner, this is the shot timer, so to say. When that orange bar gets all the way over here, that's a 2-minute shot, and then it'll start over again and the counter will go up one. And it'll stack another image on here. So let's go back here and just drop this down. Let's go to about 125%. So you see there's quite a few stars out in the field here. Now, I have been watching this comet for a few weeks now. And generally what I'll do is, I've got to run it through the analysis software to get the orbit of the comet. And unfortunately, there are no asteroids out here. This is quite a ways from the ecliptic. And, I haven't found any asteroids. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and start stellarium here. And I'll show you where we're actually pointing. Oh, you're watching this on TV? Yeah, my setup is actually a little different. What I've got is I've got a MacBook Pro, an M1 MacBook Pro. And then I've got a double screen that's, that comes out like wings on it. And so I've got 3 screens here that I'm looking at. My telescope is on one screen, the streaming software is on the other, and then I've got YouTube on the mainstream so I can see the chat and such. Let's see if we can get this telescope to connect. All right, let's go see if it's pointing in the right direction. I think it's up kind of in the northwest right now, or the northeast, but let's go see where it's showing it is. Oh, that's a bad sign. It says it's pointing at the ground. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and try and turn this off, turn it on a few times. See whether or not we can get it to go to where it's supposed to be. There we go. Got to hold your mouth just right when you do this. So it's up in the northeast. And to give you an idea of where we are, let's go ahead and put some constellations on here. So here is Cepheus, and here is Cygnus. So we're between Cepheus and Cygnus. And there's Draco. So you see basically where we are right now. So here's, most people know what Cassiopeia looks like, the W. You know, Cassiopeia, it's Queen Cassiopeia and King Cepheus. Queens follow their kings. Princes follow princesses. Which is why if you look down here, now she's below the horizon, but let's turn off the ground for a second. Show you what I'm talking about. So queens follow kings, and princes follow princesses. So here we have Queen Cassiopeia following Cepheus, and then here we have Prince Perseus following Princess Andromeda. So as the stars rotate this way here, the prince comes after the princess, the queen comes after the king. So that's pretty cool stuff. But there we go. So it's still streaking away, isn't it? Yeah, the moon was nice. So we just had a little, you know, kind of a sliver of the moon, maybe sixth of the moon, quarter of the moon, somewhere right in there. I wanted to get some images of the moon, but it's way out in the west and relatively low in the sky because it's probably setting about right now. I wanted to get some pictures of the stars they claim through the moon. You know, these flat earthers say that they can see stars through the moon because it's, you know, plasma and it's transparent. You know, what they always do is those stars always happen to be right next to the terminator line at the exact location of big mountains on the moon. You know, you try and show them that it's a mountaintop and, you know, oh, no, it's a star. It's a star. Little Missy's watching me do this. That's the cat. Otis, the astronomy cat, met his match today. Apparently some blue jays set up a nest in the tree near my front door. And they've got a bunch of babies up there. And the male blue jay, every time Otis comes out, he just dive bombs the hell out of him. He tries to draw Otis off away from the nest, which I think is a rather gallant thing for him to do. So he'll come down on the ground and start walking, generally in front of Otis. And Otis just kind of looks at him and ignores him. He doesn't really care about them for some reason. Yeah, it's 29%. Yeah, a little bit less than a third. Pretty cool. But, you know, Otis is pretty much ignoring the bird, but the bird is not ignoring Otis. Otis is a pretty well-fed, big old orange cat. And he likes to play with animals. He generally doesn't kill them. He's got a chipmunk out here that he is driving into counseling. You know, the chipmunk's probably in therapy right now, sitting on a little chipmunk couch, was talking to a chipmunk psychologist or psychiatrist. You know, the chipmunk will pop out and Otis will grab him. And he'll just hold him down, look at him, turn his head side to side, and then he'll let him go. And then the chipmunk takes off trying to make it to its hole, and then he grabs him again. He'll catch that chipmunk and release it like 5 times between the porch and where his little hole is out by the flower garden. And he just sits down and says, "You wouldn't believe what happened to me today." But I've been doing a lot of streaming over on TikTok. I don't really like the platform because of the way, Otis is a dog cat. I don't really care for TikTok very much. The streaming software they have is proprietary, and it doesn't work very well. It doesn't have a lot of features. It only works on PCs. It doesn't work on Macs. It's just generally a pain in my ass. I'd much rather use my MacBook and just stream from this and do it on TikTok, where I have a lot more control over it. But like I said, I have been streaming over there to build the channel a little bit, but I thought I'd come back over here for a while and remind everybody that I'm still on TikTok and I still do this sort of stuff. Now that green bar up there means that what's happening here is that, you see, this is the tracking, the guiding, and we're guiding on the order of about, sub-arc second. But what it does every now and then is it actually moves the telescope over just a little bit, or it moves it up, and the reason that it does that is, if you look at the background here, see how this is starting to get nice and smooth? It's, much less grainy right now. That's because what it does is it shifts the telescope over very slightly, just a few pixels. And that tends to kind of even out the noise, the read noise in the background. And that seems to help things quite a bit. So let's go ahead and, this is looking pretty good here. So you see right here, it's kind of compact. But what you have here is, you have on the left, you have the black limit, and on the right you have the middle limit, the mid-range. What you want is that black limit pretty much right at the peak of the data there. And you want this line right here. See how that thing, if you look carefully here at the curve of the data, so you see it goes up rather steeply and then comes down steeply, and then it the slope drops off right here. What you want is that black line right on the peak, and you want the mid-range right about where that slope changes from being really steep to being a little more shallow. I'd like the background to be completely black. You see it's got a little bit of an orange tinge to it. That's light pollution. I live in a small town in Michigan. And, there are streetlights and such here. Yep, that's exactly what it is, Lone Tech. It's called dithering. And that means you're just nudging the telescope over just a hair, because the software will align the stars, but instead of being pointed right here at this star, maybe it's pointing over here at that star. I mean, that's probably quite a big jump. But, the stuff's still here, it still lines it up, but the noise on the sensor kind of gets canceled out. That's the purpose of it. Oh, I do like TikTok to some extent. There's a different audience over there. The audience over there tends to be a little bit younger. More of them are interested in astronomy, it seems. A lot of people over here don't have a lot of interest in watching live telescopes. We get kind of frustrated to, do a 2-hour or 3-hour live telescope and have 10 people watch it. But if you guys hit likes on this, and you share it around and maybe tell your friends that I'm live tonight, maybe they'll pop on over here. We'll get some nice viewers. You know, I'd like to get this up to a couple of hundred viewers if I could, but you know, it's kind of a small channel. This isn't my main channel. This is the primary astronomy channel. You have 20-hour days now? Dear Lord. Judy lives up in Finland. How far are you from the Arctic Circle, Judy? I don't think you get 24-hour daylight or sun or nighttime, you know, where you are, but you get a goodly amount. Let's see how our account's looking. Got about, 34 minutes to go on this. Then we'll start looking around a little bit and have some fun. We'll look at some satellites and do some other things. Yeah, the flat earthers over on TikTok really are kind of third tier flat earthers. You know, I kind of break flat earthers up into 2 big categories and then 3 tiers. So the 2 big categories are those that sell t-shirts and those that buy them. And the categories that I have is, you know, like tier 1 is the Flurf Daddy. You know, there are people like Witsit or Quantum Eraser, some of these big names in the flat earth, David Weiss. You know, these are the guys that come up with the derp. And then the second tier flat earthers are the ones that faithfully follow a Flurf Daddy. So you get people like Caleb that follow Witsit. And, you know, basically are just kind of surrogates for the Flurf Daddies. And then you have the third tier Flurfs. These are people that saw a YouTube video and use it to spout their conspiratorial nonsense. You know, they just say things at random, you know, and repeat sayings that they've heard on YouTube videos. "63 North. That is, as I recall, well, that's about 12 degrees north of London, and it's up on the order of Anchorage, Alaska. You know, I used to live in Anchorage. I used to live in Fairbanks. The farthest north that I've ever lived, I think, is 64 North, which is Fairbanks. No, actually, it's a little further than that, because I was just north of the Arctic Circle in a little town called Kotzebue, Alaska. I spent a couple of weeks up there. That didn't work out, and I ended up coming home. That was really isolated up there, man. Let's go see what else we have. Unfortunately, I don't have the second telescope set up tonight, or else we'd be going back and forth between the two. I didn't want to run both telescopes tonight because I just installed the Ritchie Chrétien in the dome tonight, and I wanted to kind of concentrate on it in case I had to do any troubleshooting or anything. But, you know, that's kind of what I did tonight. You know, in the future, and in most cases, I try and run 2 telescopes. I'll have the main one in the dome that I'm doing my science with, and then I'll have a secondary telescope set up outside in the yard. And that'll generally have a refractor or even this Ritchie Chrétien on it. And we'll just look at fun stuff to kind of pass the time when we do that. So, does anybody have anything in particular they want to see tonight? Any requests? If it's in an area that I can get to, I'll do my best to try and get an image of it for you. Yeah, I'll do my best to try and get an image for you. We can have a look at geostationary satellites, and we can look at GPS satellites. It's a little too late to get good views of low Earth orbit satellites because they're in the shadow of the Earth. But those are mostly seen primarily at, you know, right around dawn and dusk. Boy, that comet's kind of hauling along, isn't it? Stars are still looking good. I'll double check the collimation on this. The focus on this was excellent tonight, but I would like to double check the collimation because it hasn't been collimated, formally in a while. But I will check that. The polar alignment's excellent. The Whale Nebula. Oh, we can have a look. I'll go ahead and write that down. Make a note of the fact you want to see that one. Oh, there's a pencil. Okay, so that's written down in pencil. But boy, that comet's moving along, isn't it? See how much longer the streak is now compared to what it was earlier? Looks like that's a yellow star. This one here's got some blue in it. There's a lot of red stars out here. Comets lots of times are kind of greenish. Let's go ahead and just look real quick. That is due west of me almost. Could be a challenge. We can give it a try, though. All right, guys, I've got to go plug the computer in. Probably should have done that before I started streaming, but sometimes I do have a little, when the power gets on it, sometimes it knocks the stream off. If that happens, I will be right back. Let's go see what happens here. Okay, it still seems to be working. You guys still getting images out there? Yeah, because all my screens are screwed up here now. Okay, now it's working again. All right. I plugged the power in, and all the screens went haywire on me. But it looks like it's still broadcasting, and you guys are saying you're still seeing it fine, so I guess we're in good shape. Hey, Casual, thank you very much. I do appreciate you stopping by. Yeah, we're up to 16 viewers. That's a good sign. It's building. Looks like it's dithering again. So how many do we have here? What's that thing saying? Is that 20 or 29, or what's it say there? Can any of you guys read it? Got Steve with his big screen TV there. What's it saying there? Right at the cursor. I know what I can do. Dum, dum, dum. Oh, we got 28 stacked. I'll tell you what, let's take 2 more images. That'll give me 30. That should be enough to get a good orbit on it. Oh no, it's not. It's 28. And I'll get 30. And that way there I've got enough to get a good orbit, and then we'll go start having a look at a few things. I'm going to try and get the Whale Galaxy real quick for Judy before it goes below my trees. Hey, Manchester, UK. How's things going with you tonight, Green Cat? It's pretty late for you, isn't it? It's got to be about 5 in the morning for you, unless you're just getting up. Yeah, Judy, it must be the middle of the night for you. Or actually just after sunrise. Well, maybe not. Maybe it's a couple hours after your sunrise if you got 20 hours of sunshine a day. Well, let's get this on over here. So that comet's getting a nice long streak on it. So it's definitely hauling along. And that's what we want. We want to go ahead and get a little bit of a track on it. Well, it's the UK, man. What do you expect? It's always cloudy there. If you want to be an astronomer, move to Australia. Or live up in the desert in Chile. Looking like 29. So we'll wait for this image to finish. And then we'll do a quick focus. Boy, oh boy, that's a long day, isn't it? 3:30 a.m. until 10 p.m. And 5 hours of darkness, and most of that's probably twilight. That's the problem with having an observatory in the northern latitudes or in the extreme south. It never truly gets dark. You never get astronomical twilight. You get civil twilight, and then you get nautical twilight, but you don't get true astronomical twilight, which is darkness. Okay, I'm thinking this will probably be my last image here. There we go, we got 30. That's enough. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we're going to drop this down to a 4-second exposure. Let that settle a little bit. There's our comet right there, you see it? See how it looks a little different than stars even on a 4-second exposure. Well, let's go see if we can find that whale galaxy. Okay, so the telescope's coming around. Well, you know, it's at 51 degrees above the horizon. I may be able to hit that. Guess we'll find out shortly here. I don't have the security camera installed in the dome right now, so if we're not getting a good image, I'm actually going to have to go out and find out what, you know, where the aperture, the opening of the dome is compared to. Oh, I'm getting images. That's a good sign. So let's go ahead over here to Tools. We'll do a quick plate solve and resync. See if we can locate where we are. Oh, you know what's happening. See how the stars are jumping around a little bit? It's because I still have tracking on. Let's go ahead and turn tracking off and let those stars stabilize for a minute and see if we can figure out where we are. See how they settled down there? Well, it doesn't want to plate solve. Well, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Let's turn that camera off. Come over here, turn the camera on here. Now let's see if we can get it to plate solve here. This one's got a double. That's my shot of the moon. You see the tree. It's already in the trees, but you can clearly see the dark side, you know, the dark portion of the moon here, based on what I was doing. Let's go see if we can plate solve. That plate solved. There you go, man. That's how I started off. You know, I'd have it out there and then I'd cover it up with you know, some vinyl trash bags. And sometimes I'd put a bucket over it or a big, then I went out and I bought a brand new garbage can, a big plastic garbage can. And that is how, that's how I covered my scope. And then I mounted the pier and I would put it on that and leave it up there. And then I finally built the deck, and my son and I built the dome using an excellent kit from a company called Next Dome in Canada over by Vancouver. Alright, so let's turn this camera off. Let's turn it back on over here and see if we can find a whale galaxy for Judy. Yeah, it's illuminated by Earthshine. You can see it if you adjust the gain of the camera properly. See if we get an image here. There's the whale galaxy right there. So what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and see if we can start guiding here a little bit. See if we have some stars. Okay, so now we're guiding on a star. Go ahead and clear these. Make sure that we're guiding okay, and then we're going to get some longer exposures. See if we can bring out some detail from that whale galaxy. So that's tracking okay. So let's go ahead. Just make a few adjustments here. Okay. Well, let's go see what we come up with. I think what I'll do after we get this first image, I'll go out and check the dome and make sure it's lined up properly. I'm thinking I'm catching a corner of the dome. This is why I put a security camera out there. You know, that allows me to check the where the telescope is pointing versus where the opening in the dome is. If I don't have that set up, and I don't have it set up yet, I have to physically go out and do it. But let's go see what this first image looks like. This is so much more comfortable to do it down here on YouTube than sitting up in the studio trying to make it, you know, trying to get everything coordinated up there on TikTok. Probably start streaming here mostly. Okay, so here's our first image coming through. Let's go see what we have here. So first we'll balance the colors. You see how the curve shifted to a single curve here? And then we'll kind of put a good stretch on the camera. So there it is, but I suspect I'm catching a corner of the observatory right here. So I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to run on out and get that fixed. And then we'll be back. So talk amongst yourselves. Okay, I think it's fixed now. All right, so let's go ahead and see if I can get some images here. So let's go ahead and do that. See, I've got a much better, much cleaner signal now. And there's your whale galaxy. It looks like there's something down here too. Yeah, we're picking up that little galaxy right there. So here's what we're looking at. Here's the whale galaxy, which is what Judy wanted to see, and there's another little galaxy right next to it. Let's go see if we can see what we're actually looking at here. Okay, so we should be able to get both of those in. So here's the one galaxy, and here's the other one. Here's the whale. Hey, Cygnus, how you doing tonight? A Dyson sphere. That's pretty awesome, man. I don't have darks on this, which is why I have this dust mote right here. But notice it centered it up very nicely, and we're actually getting a little color here. Oh man, look at the dust lanes we're picking up there. That's beautiful. I've never looked at this one before, Judy. We're getting some pretty impressive images there. You see, and look at all the detail we're getting. And we've only got a couple of images here. We've only stacked about 5 images. But you see what a nice job the Ritchie Crayon does with the galaxies? That 1620 millimeters of focal length is really what you need for it. You need really big scopes, like 27, like that meat of mine has got 2700 millimeters of focal length. But, you know, that's what you need for planets. You know, because, you know, even though planets are really quite close, compared to the size of galaxies, their angular size is just tiny. Now these are bad pixels here, as you can see. But we're really getting nice detail in that galaxy. We'll get a few more images and let them stack a little bit, and we'll see what we get. Boy, it's nice to see these galaxies up close and in color. You know, normally I have a monochrome. I have a ZWO 6200 monochrome on the RASA. So I get really nice details, but everything's in black and white. You know, I don't use filters with it, you know, as far as narrowband filters or anything. But that's 30 million light years away is what Judy said a little while ago, I believe. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, the dithering and You know, I don't Photoshop any of these images, so I don't process them in Photoshop. You're talking about this one right here? I don't know. Let's see. I don't know if that's part of it. That may actually be part of it. Yeah, I'm sorry we're not getting this little guy in too. Looks like it's just out of frame. I could probably adjust it. See the little dithering that's going on? Or the guiding, I meant to say. Yeah, it could be a satellite galaxy. But in any event, let's get this out of the way and look at the real one. I'm really surprised how nice that image is. I like when I take pictures of galaxies, I like to make, I like them to look a little ghostly, a little ethereal. I think the folks that, really just try and pull too much detail out of these things and get too intense a color, I always think that looks a little cartoonish. I like to see them as they actually are. You got to wonder how many civilizations are looking back at us right now from this galaxy. Well, Judy, it was an excellent suggestion. We don't even have 10 images yet, and it's already looking really nice. And I mean, just tremendous amount of detail in here. That's at I think 150% magnification, or it's 1.5 times the actual size on the sensor. Yeah, isn't it? Right here in the center, you get that little spot of red, and then it's got these brown dust lanes on it, and then it's got kind of a bluish green galactic disk. Turned out really nice. Stars are looking nice too. Well, thank you for suggesting that, Junie. That's the first time I've ever looked at this particular galaxy. I haven't really looked at a lot of galaxies with the RASA because it just doesn't show them really well, and they're in black and white. My main job here is looking at little dots and measuring their orbits. Well, now this is a Ritchie-Chrétien. Most of your chromatic aberration you get with refractor telescopes, not mirror telescopes. And, you know, with my refractors, it's a lot more noticeable. I'm wondering if, I'm wondering if there is a little bit of an effect with it, but I don't think it's as bad as the refractors would be. You can get a little device to correct that aberrancy too, but you know, whether, you know, if this star is a little bit red here and it's a little bit blue on this side, you know, to be honest with you, I'm not going to lose any sleep over that, and I'm not going to spend $150 on a filter, on a little corrector to fix it. Yeah, we're getting some amazing shots here. Looks like we'll probably get about one more. I do have a lot of light pollution, though, unfortunately, tonight. This particular telescope doesn't have a light pollution filter on it. And as a result, it's a little worse than the RASA. The RASA's got a light pollution filter on it. Boy, when I got that RASA, you know, as I was trying to get some images with it, you know, I finally ended up taking it apart a little bit and having a look at the light pollution filter on it. Man, that thing looked like it had been sprayed in Vaseline. I cleaned that thing, and man, it made a big difference. It was like it had wax paper on it. I don't think it had been cleaned in years. How does what work? The corrector? It has a mirror in it. It has a little bit of a tilt on it. You know, it's got a semi-glazed mirror on it, as I recall. And or it may have two glass plates, but you can vary the angle between the glass plates a little bit, and because atmospheric chromatic aberration is it's directional. You know, it goes from from down to up. You can make a slight change on that corrector, and you can kind of correct it out a little bit. Yeah, it's not so much a filter as it's basically two glass plates or a couple of mirrors. And what they do is they basically kind of bring the red, green, and blue back into alignment a little bit. You just kind of, you gently move it. You gently change the geometry of it a little bit until it comes in. Yeah. Yeah, two prisms. I've never taken one apart and looked at it, but I think it's prisms. The reason you get chromatic aberration is that the wavelength of the different colors has a slightly different refraction through the lens, and as a result it splits a little bit. One of the courses that I'm going to be taking is called Observational Astronomy, and it's a very detailed course on cameras and aberration and a lot of these things, a lot of the refraction problems that you run into and stuff like that. I think that's probably going to result in an upgrade in the observatory with some more precise equipment. And I think we're going to really get a big increase in the quality of the pictures that I have. I don't think these are bad by any means, but I think they're going to be excellent after I have that course. It's going to teach me a lot of the things that I don't know right now. And, there's just so much I don't know about astronomy and the actual, and the technical aspects of it. I think this will help me a great deal. See, that's why it's a dual major. It's actually a triple major, to be honest with you. So the classes that I have to take are all the classes you would have to take to get a Bachelor's of Science in Physics. Plus, it's got astrophysics. Plus, it's got astronomy. So, no, it's online. It's online right now during the summer term, but most of the classes are at Central Michigan University, and I'm a student there. I will be taking some courses at a community college, basically due to the cost of the courses and the fact that we have a very limited number of credits every year. We only have 24 credits a year, which is 2 13-credit semesters, and I'm taking 13 credits right now. But my son is finishing up his degree, and he gets most of the credits, so I kind of get the leftovers that he doesn't use. And as a result of that, some of the stuff I need to take, I'm going to take at a community college. Calculus 3 at a community college and Calculus 3 at the, at a university are pretty much the same class. It's when you start getting into modern physics, for example, you need a lot more lab equipment for the labs. And, that's when it's going to start really making a difference. And that won't be until a year from fall. The next year is pretty much a math year for me. So, I'm currently taking pre-calc and Calculus 1. I'll take Calculus 2 and linear algebra next semester. And then I'll take Calculus 3 in the spring. I do have to fit in differential equations somewhere. Probably before I do. I need linear algebra to take modern physics. So I've got to take that first, and then when I take mathematical physics, I may have to have differential equations for that. But yeah, it's been definitely a learning experience. I had to learn how to use a graphing calculator, which is something I've never used before. Those of you that know me know that I use just the calculator. The calculator's on my phone and my slide rule. But I had to use a graphing calculator for this, and I'm not allowed to use the graphing calculator on my phone. I have to have a TI-84. I wonder if they figured out that's programmable too. So let's go see where we are. Well, we've got a couple of images here. Well, if you guys want to grab a screenshot of that, feel free to go right ahead, because I'm going to stop it here pretty quick. We'll have a look at a few other things. You guys want to look at some satellites and then maybe suggest some other targets? Boy, guiding's good. That's pretty low in the sky. It's still only 19 degrees up. That's not really enough for me to task the telescope, you know. Hey, Larry. Yeah, the TI-84 was one of the ones that they recommended. And, you know, the interesting thing is my book actually references the TI-84 specifically. So when they say, okay, well, hit this button right here, they'll have that button. Hey, Larry, how you doing tonight? Okay, so the technique for finding satellites is you download the two-line element files, which are the orbital elements. Oh, it's not difficult at all. So I'm locked onto the geostationary satellite right now. It's Amazonas 5. So I'm going to turn off satellite tracking. I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to turn on regular sidereal tracking. And let's go ahead and see if I see any stars here. Okay, I've got stars. Now, what I need to do is I need to go ahead and plate solve this. There we go. So let's plate solve this real quick. Doesn't seem to want to do it. We'll give it one more shot and then we'll go ahead and turn this camera off, do it on the other one. Yeah. This particular program is a little temperamental when it comes to plate solving. Nina's a lot better with it. Okay, so we've got a plate solve and it's going to where it needs to go. Yes. Yeah, geostationaries don't move. So essentially what you're doing is you're turning the tracking off. But I had to turn the tracking back on here because I had to do that to plate solve. But now that we know exactly where we are, we'll go ahead and start tracking the satellites. Now, let's go see what we can find here. So we'll turn this camera back on. Okay, that camera's off. So here are our geostationary satellites right here. See 4 of them? Now, to give you an idea of the accuracy here, they're all within the inner circle. Let's bring this up to 66%. Hail Sagan. There's geostationary satellites for you. So those are pretty cool. So that's a half-second exposure. You see it's a little smoother motion of the stars right now. They're not quite as streaked. Let's do a little bit more. You can get away with half a second on the RASA. Might need a little longer exposure on the Ritchie-Chrétien. It's the difference between F2 and F8, you know. There we go. So there we are, live satellites in space. Camera's doing weird things. Well, let's go see if we've got anything else cool tonight. I'm going to turn this camera off for just a minute. We're going to go over to Nina. Turn the camera on there. Make sure she's cooling. What I'm doing is I'm getting a shot right now to see whether or not I need to. I'm going to plate solve this real quick. Then I'm just going to do a quick autofocus. All right, let's let her autofocus. See if we can clean it up a little bit. That didn't go in the right direction, did it? Oh, yeah, it did. So you see it's coming down. It's going to try and find the best focus. The reason you have to refocus these, you know, when you move the telescope, you know, it can go a little bit out of focus. But more importantly, as the night goes on, the temperature drops and the glass contracts. So even though the telescope lenses and mirrors are designed not to have as much of a change with temperature, you know, change in their optics with temperature, they still have a little bit. So it's important to go ahead and refocus, you know, every 15-20 minutes. We've been doing this for quite a while and I haven't refocused, so it's a good time to go ahead and do it now. So I'm thinking we're going to get a pretty decent focus here. See how that forms like a V-shaped pattern or a U-shaped pattern? Optimal focus is at the bottom of that U. All right, so we've got a pretty good focus now. We're going to go ahead and turn the camera off here. Turn it back on here. Yeah, we're looking pretty good there. So once again, okay, well, maybe not. Got to adjust these screens a little bit here. There, that's a little better. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do some live shots here of the Bubble Nebula. Let's go ahead and make them 2-minute images. Now we'll just kind of let them go through. Yeah, there's a lot of technical details, Judy, to doing these things. You know, a lot of the astronomy channels on TikTok use unguided telescopes and cell phones for cameras. And they generally look at the moon and things like that. I try and do things a little bit different. I like to look at objects that you don't normally see. like the Whale Nebula or some of the other, or the Whale Galaxy or some of the other galaxies, satellites. We're looking at a nebula right now, and we're going to see it in color here in a little bit. And we'll see what kind of an image we get. You know, we've got a fresh focus, so it should be a pretty good one. Well, it's kind of interesting. I've got like 11 people watching right now, and the average view duration is almost 20 minutes. So, small crowd, but definitely very interested in this stuff. Okay, we should have that first image here in a second. I'm not seeing anything. Are you guys seeing anything? Well, that says I'm not on it. So we're going to try this again. Where in the hell is the telescope pointing? Well, that's what we're looking for right there. Let's go see if we can fix this dome remotely. We'll give this a second. If this doesn't work, we'll go out and fix it. Yeah, the bulb might be burned out. You never know. So what I did was I just ordered the dome to go to its home position. And then now that it knows where the dome is and where the opening is, I'm ordering it to go to sync up with the telescope. So what we'll do is we'll see whether or not that works. And it most definitely did. So let's go ahead. We're going to go ahead and start guiding here again. So let's go ahead and guide on that guy right there. Yeah, we want to guide on that one. Now what we'll do here is we'll take a test shot. Take a 30-second test shot and see if we can see anything here. But we've got really good focus, that's good. So the dome got a little bit lost, so I sent it home, and then I had it resync with the telescope, and it worked fine, it looks like. So let's see what this test shot looks like. Guiding's good. Okay, that first image should be coming out now. Come on. That's probably it right there. Let's turn this off a second. If that's it, it's not centered. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take an image here, and we will plate solve and sync it. And it plate solved, good. Well, it says it's off, so that's probably why we're not seeing anything. Okay, so now it says it's on. Let's restart here. So it looks like we weren't looking where we were supposed to be. So we're going to try this one more time. Astronomy is a game of patience. Yeah, we have star parties out here once in a while too. Yeah, I'm aware of that, Lone Tech. Okay, yeah, there's the bubble nebula right there. Okay, so we're right where we want to be. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start taking some 2-minute images. And we're going to let a few of those suckers stack. .43 arc second guiding. I'll tell you, man, you can't beat that. Yeah, there's a nice cluster there. And if you want to see that, let's see. So here's the bubble nebula. Here's the cluster right here. So let's come out a little bit. But you can generally see those. I'm going to try and figure out why it's not giving me the correct. Because the focal length isn't right. Okay, that should be better. So this is what we should be seeing. Now that star cluster should definitely be in view, but for some reason it's not. Okay, our image is going to be coming out here in a second. Yep, this has refraction spikes because, you know, it's got a spider. But here's that star cluster, and here is the bubble nebula. Let's bring this up to 66%, Hail Sagan. You can see the bubble right there. This is streaked. That's no bueno. Something bumped it. Wonder what Otis is doing. Otis the cat's probably out in the observatory playing with it. Let's go ahead and clear that image out. And we'll get a fresh image without the streak in it. I thought that cluster looked a little streaky. If you zoom in on it, you can definitely see it. Okay, so here's our first image coming up. Come on. All right, here we go. Yeah, much better. So you can definitely see some detail on that bubble nebula. Here's the diffraction spikes that Lone Star was talking about. Those are caused by light coming in through the spider that holds the secondary mirror in the Ritchie-Chrétien. Okay, let's let a few of those stack, see what we get. I don't know, guys. You think that's looking pretty good? You can definitely see the bubble. Don't even have 10 images stacked yet. Catatropic are mirrored telescopes. So anything that's an SCT type telescope is called a catadioptric. So the Schmidt-Cassegrain is one example. The Ritchie-Chrétien, even the RASA would fall under that. I'm trying to remember exactly how the system works in a trying to remember how the system works in a mat. I think it's very similar to a straight Newtonian, except it's got a corrector plate on it and hyperbolic mirrors or something or other like that. Yeah, RC is a mirror-only design. The main difference between a Schmidt-Cassegrain and an RC is the mirror is hyperbolic rather than spherical like an RC, or like a Schmidt-Cassegrain, and the focusing system is much better. It has a focusing system very similar to a refractor telescope in the back. And you know the primary mirror is fixed. The way a Schmidt-Cassegrain focuses is it moves the primary mirror, and you get mirror flop and all sorts of problems with that. But yeah, an RC is mirror only. Now what I did was I went ahead and I modified my my Schmidt-Cassegrain, my Meade, to be a little bit more like a the focusing system is more like a an RC, in that I have a refractor type autofocuser on the back where the eyepiece normally would go. The problem is it's got a really weird adapter ring on it, and I need to get it. And then I'm going to probably put the Schmidt-Cassegrain in the observatory for a couple of months. This one will probably stay up there for a month or two, and then I'll put the RASA back in with the color camera, you know, instead of the black and white, and we'll take some pictures of nebulas and such with that. That'll be really nice. We're kind of in galaxy season right now, as I recall. So this is a good time to go out and look at galaxies. Depends on which side of the orbit we're on. If we're on the if we're on the looking outside, it's galaxies. If we're on the looking inside, it's nebula. Have a look at that. Yeah, the bubble's nice and clear. I like to bring it out just a little bit more. But then I start getting the light pollution in the background. About right there is a good happy medium. But you see, unlike the galaxy, we're not really, we're only at 66% Hale-Sagan. Probably have a look at a globular cluster next, if that's all right with you guys. M10's a nice one. M107, actually, I haven't looked at that one. It looks pretty big, too. Maybe we'll look at that next. M107. Oh, it's just kind of a joke. It refers to Carl Sagan. The conspiracy types always think that 33 and 66, are devil worship. So every time we go to 33% or 66%, you always get a Hail Sagan out of it. No, nebula are not that difficult to bring out. You just need the right equipment for it. Planets are very tiny. You need a big scope to see planets. Galaxies, the Ritchie Cration at 1620 millimeters is perfect for galaxies. You get a nice field. It fills up the field of view quite a bit. With nebula, they're generally very large, and you want a short focal length and a very wide field of view. Now, the black and white camera doesn't do a really good job with nebula in just white light. If you put some filters on it, you could bring them out, but I don't do that. I may look into it because I do have a filter drawer on the RASA, which is mostly a spacer. I've never put a filter in it, but that's a possibility. But we'll see how it turns out. So that's looking pretty good. How many do we have? Did we get 10 in here? Yeah, we've got our 10. Let's go ahead and stop this one here and go over to M107. So we'll go out here. So that's what we were looking at right now. Let's find M107. Well, actually, we can just do it right here. Right there. That's in the south. We should be able to hit that. Might be near a meridian flip. That might be a problem. Kind of follow the telescope, see where it's going. So there's Hercules. Right in this general area, there's a star that's going to go supernova soon. Let's see if this will plate solve. Yeah, we might have to do this again. No, that worked out pretty well. Ha! Or not. All right, let's go see if this works. Yep. It's struggling with plate solving tonight for some reason. I don't know why. Let's see if this will plate solve. Yep. Well, there should be a cluster right in the center of this image. Let's see. No, I'm thinking I'm seeing it right there. Let's see. I think there's something right in the center here. So let's go ahead and turn this camera off, put the other one on. Well, let's let that run for a minute. So there it is. So there's the cluster. That's an unimpressive cluster to me. That's just really, I'm not impressed with that. Let's see if we can get a better one. I'm thinking M10 is probably a better shot. That one right there. I had a look at that the other day with the RASA, and it really looked nice. No, the one that's near Orion is Betelgeuse. Now, there's no reason that shouldn't solve. And it did. That's almost a degree off. Well, it's a little more than a degree, it looks like. And there we are. Now, that's the way it's done. So let's go ahead and start guiding here. And we'll start guiding on that. And we'll take some nice images here. That's a much nicer cluster, don't you think? Now we just wait for it to cook. This will probably be our last target tonight. It's almost 2 o'clock in the morning. I think I'll shut the observatory down after this. Because of the season and such, we're going to start getting some sun coming up here in about an hour. We're going to start getting into twilight. So this will probably be our last truly dark target tonight. Thank you, Lone Tech. I do appreciate it. I do enjoy doing this. I didn't do much science tonight because I was testing out the telescope to make sure it was working okay, and it is. I'm quite pleased with the performance that I got tonight. Held focus very nicely. The focuser was working. I don't use a dew heater on this because the entire tube is essentially a dew shield. You can get some, you can get a little bit on the secondary mirror. You can get some dew forming there, but you don't get too much because it's just the way dew works. The dew control works. And I don't have to put heat on it, so I don't have air currents in the tube screwing things up. Yeah, I think that worked. That actually looks pretty nice. Let's go up to 50%. Back down. That's about right there. I'm real happy with that. What do you guys think? That look pretty good? Yeah, I'll probably take some solar images tomorrow just for fun. But that is that is M10, which is a globular star cluster. At the center of that thing are some stellar-sized black holes that are all orbiting around a common center. You know, a common center of gravity, kind of like a barycenter type thing. And then all of the stars around it are orbiting around it. That is not a galaxy. We'll let that cook for a bit. It is looking nice, isn't it? Yeah, this is in our galaxy. You can see star clusters in Andromeda, you know, if you have a good enough telescope. Maybe when I get access to the university telescope, I'll have a look. They've got a, don't know if it's a 16 or a 20 inch, but it's also in a city. So it's about 10 times the distance. If it's 16,000 light years, it's about 10 times the distance of the Andromeda Nebula. Oh, I'm glad you mentioned transit, Slam. We do have a transit of the Chinese space station across the moon later on in the month. I'm going to try and get that. Yeah, I've had a look at C2023 A3. It hasn't been in a good position when it's dark here for me for the last couple of weeks. But I did get a number of them. It is going to be, you know, they say that it's going to be a naked eye comet. You know, around October or so. But yeah, if I have the weather, I'm going to try and get that transit of the Chinese space station. It's going to be right at a full moon, too, so it'll be pretty cool. I will definitely be doing that one on YouTube because I want to make sure that I get a recording of it. Around the 22nd, as I recall. You know, it's going to be kind of interesting. I think it's going to be the night of our fireworks here. You know, they shoot the fireworks off of the island behind my house. So that's kind of a big deal. And I'll have to find out what time it is to see how it coincides with the fireworks. It would be freaking ideal if it was just before them, so that I didn't have all the smoke in the air and everything. The stuff from the fireworks kind of rains down in the area here, so I'm kind of hesitant to have the the observatory open with all that crap coming out of the air. Yeah, I've got a lot of work to do on the RASA right now too. It's got a lot of cobwebs on it. You know, it's been out in the observatory for over 6 months, maybe even a little bit longer. So it's going to need a good thorough cleaning. Yeah, exactly. The ash falling. Get nice detail on the stars. The tracking's really good. Focus is good. Oh, Otis, nothing phases Otis. Otis is too chilled to get nervous about anything as minor as fireworks. Good night, Judy. Good night, Rob. Thank you very much for stopping by. You know, they call these clusters kind of like diamonds on a black velvet pillow. See how nice and even the background is? That's the result of the dithering and the stacking. Okay, Judy. Yeah, I'm going to shut it down here pretty quick. Another image or so. We've been streaming for about 2.5 hours, it looks like. You guys make sure you drop a like, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and do that. Anybody interested in becoming channel members or Patreons, we have the links in the description if you want to support the observatory a little bit. Oh, anytime, Judy. You know, I like doing this just about every night that, you know, is clear. I'll go ahead and stream. You know, I've got this beautiful equipment here. I do my stuff with it, and, you know, I like to share it when I do it. You know, thanks to you and many of the other folks that support the channel, I'm able to do these things. You know, I couldn't have otherwise done it. I'm very glad you guys were able to stop by. I'm going to go ahead and shut the dome here in just a little bit. All right, so hang out a couple more minutes. We'll get everything. I'll show you how I shut the observatory down. and we'll see how this goes. It's really nice to have the higher magnification to begin with. You know, when you really have to zoom in on the center of a wide field with the RASA, you lose a lot of detail. This kind of reaches out and grabs them. So let's go ahead and stop this. Got that live stream stopped. There we go. Now, let's go ahead and shut this one down. We'll go on over here. We'll hit head to home. And we'll go over here and hit park. Then in a couple of minutes, we'll go on out and check the observatory to make sure the shutter is closed and make sure that the contacts for the charger for the shutter motor are attached. Cover the end of the telescope, power it down, and then we're all set for the evening. Sure beats having to break everything down and carry it back into the house, you know. I used to have to do that when I first started doing this because, you know, I'd have 60, 80 pounds worth of telescope gear out there. And I had to break it down and bring it in every night around 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. It's fun in the snow. You know, I just imagine slipping and breaking something, specifically the telescope, first, and then worried about breaking my leg next. But I'm going to go ahead and shut the live stream down now. Thank you all very much for swinging by. I do appreciate everything. You guys have a great night.